So last week's episode, we were talking about how to create your dream life and really like the things that are not talked about in the conversation of vibes and journaling. So if you haven't gone and listened to that, I would listen to that one firstly. It was fully channeled, really fucking juicy, like the perfect thing to then carry on to today's episode, where I want to talk about the things that could potentially be blocking you. And even though we're towards the end of the year, like look at my festive spirits vibes. Like I had to get them going. I know we're not fully into December yet, but I'm like, we're close. So we're going to bring the ugly cardigans out. You know, even though we're towards the end of the year, so a lot of people can get into this mindset of just like throwing in the towel, like fuck it, giving up. I didn't achieve X, Y, and Z this year. I let myself down. So I'm just going to be like, oh, we'll try again next year. But that kind of mindset means that you keep having the same shit happen every year. That mindset of like, well, too late now. It's never too late. Like it could be December 30th. Start. Seriously. Because if you have that mindset over a date, imagine then the mindset that you have when you go through a rough time. Because as I was talking about in the last episode, part of manifestation, part of getting your dream life is not just the high vibe, cute, beautiful unicorn moments. It's also the crumbling. Like in that hardship, you are manifesting. I don't mean you've manifested the hard times. I mean that sometimes shit has to be rough, what feels rough, in order to get what you're manifesting. Sometimes we have this vision of this is how it's going to look to manifest this thing. And it's not. Like sometimes shitty things have to happen to then actually be able to get what we want. And that doesn't mean that shitty things have to happen to get what we want. It means that you as a person have to be embodied at a certain level to get that certain manifestation. It's what I call embodied manifestation. And so if you're not at that place yet, then somehow you got to get there to be able to easily manifest that thing. That's this phrase of embodied manifestation. I actually wrote a blog on what is embodied manifestation. So we'll link that below. So if you're like, I'm confused what this terminology is, then you can quickly read that as well. It's not too long. It's a phrase that I made up and it's kind of my method to manifesting because I've realized over the years, like the journaling and the high vibes gets you places, but then you hit this glass ceiling. And so how do I get beyond that? And more importantly, how do I make manifesting so easy that I don't have to like do anything to manifest what it is that I want? All right, so let's jump into some of the most common blocks that I see that holds people back from creating your dream life and obviously how to bust through them. And remember, these things could be holding you back from achieving what you wanted to this year. So can you break through them? Can you decide like, right, these things have no more control over me so that you can already start to make shifts before the end of the year? Oh, also, you guys know that I'm pregnant. Yay. Oh, it feels like such a relief to tell you. I know some people wait till they're like in second trimester and I'm like, the way that my boobs are growing, that shit can't wait. It cannot wait. And also like, I just hate holding stuff. Oh, like I hate, okay, now it's okay that like I can tell you this. I've been struggling with baby brain. I had no idea that it could happen this early in pregnancy. I kind of mentioned this, I think actually, I don't even know whether I did on the conception episode. After I recorded that, like this morning, I was like, oh my God, there were so many things I forgot to say in that. And I'm like, of course, because baby brain, but I've been really struggling a little bit, having a really good mindset about it. Like I'm not letting it, become like something that I'm negative about. I just have to laugh about it, but I like really forget my words and it's kind of annoying, but it's also just, well, I'm going to enjoy it for 9 months. That's all part of it. Anyway, we're going to go through what potentially could be holding you back from creating your dream life. There was something I was going to say in there and now I've forgotten it. So we're just going to dive in. All right. So the first one is fear of judgment. I did a whole episode on the fear of being seen. If you haven't listened to that, I would definitely go listen to that. We'll put that below as well. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but the fear of judgment from others. And mostly it's often family and friends. Oh, I have another episode actually on our family and friends, the thing that's actually causing you to not go and get what you want. So we'll link that one too. But most often the thing that holds people back from getting what they want, whether it's the health they want, whether it's the guy they want, whether it's the girl they want, whether it's the house they want, the job they want, like It could simply be the birth that they want. Like it could be something so small, but is there this fear of judgment from friends and family? And that's what's holding you back because they're going to be like, you're such a weirdo or whatever it is. This can happen for a lot of people. Very often it's not just like the sisterhood wounds or the friends or the randoms on the internet. It's the remarks that their family members make. And often it's the same remarks they've heard their whole entire life. And they're just like, I don't want to fucking put up with it anymore. And I get it because I still get those remarks. And like, it doesn't mean that I then don't go and do the thing because I don't have those remarks becoming, they don't feel triggering anymore, but it's still annoying. Like you're human, right? Even when you've healed triggers, it doesn't mean that people don't annoy you sometimes. It doesn't mean you wish that you couldn't just say to somebody like, stop fucking saying that to me. You know, like that we're human at the end of the day. We can get pissed off and that's completely fine. There's a difference though between getting pissed off at somebody and being triggered or feeling insecure, whether it's from that trigger or whether it's just you feel insecure. And therefore you're holding yourself back to essentially not have them judge you because you don't want them to judge you because of all the feelings that brings. And that's fair enough because again, we're only human, right? But this is why it's so important to be around people that will celebrate your successes and not hold you back. Right. I was kind of talking about this around the whole concept of like get in the room in the last episode. And something I didn't mention actually is, you know, one of the things that I found so beneficial from even just one of the events that I attended in the last kind of like 2 months is the friends, like the people that I meet. It's literally like I would come back and I'd pay 10 times for this ticket, literally to meet these people. Half the time when I go to these events, I don't even necessarily get anything out of the speakers because, you know, maybe the speakers are saying stuff where it's like I already know, or it's keynote speeches. So it's like kind of more on the inspirational, like you're hearing people's stories. Like that's still great. It's still inspiring, but it's like you're not even necessarily then being like, wow, this event was so good because of these speakers. It's like, wow, this event was so good because of the people that I met. And sometimes you have to pay for friends. One of my best friends, you've probably heard me say this before, she was one of my maid of honors. Literally, we met through a mastermind, and it was, we often joke of like, yep, most expensive friendship, but like the best one. And I would do that again. Like sometimes these days we have to pay for friends because you're also then getting those really high quality friendships. I know there's so many of you, like one of the most common things that I hear is like, I just want to meet more like-minded women. How do I do that? Honestly, how you do it is you fucking pay to get in the room. Like that is how you do it these days. You know, people, they're paying to be on dating apps, for example. You're paying to get into a community of like-minded women, and then you have to pay with your own energy and time and show up and actually then cultivate those experiences. And that is one of the reasons why we have literally created Her Year. Part of Her Year, one of the components of it that's really at the forefront of this whole program is the community aspect. So if you haven't heard about my new program, I'm so excited about it. It is a year-long program. It is Her, but we've made it a whole entire year. So if you know what my program Her is, we've now made it a whole year. So it's called Her Year. You're going to be with me for a whole entire year. January to December, we have 2 in-person days together. You get a discount for my immersion or a couples immersion. You get so many other inclusions. You actually get the New Year's Eve bundle included as well. There is an early bird pricing at the moment if you join before the end of December. And I'm just like, I hope that you can feel it in my energy, in my voice. I am so excited about this, like truly so fucking excited. If you want to know more about it, I won't go on too much right now, but if you do want to know more about it, I would definitely recommend watching my latest masterclass that I did, which also is packed with value because like I would not do anything less for you guys. And that latest free masterclass, I'm giving you all of this value around like the 7 pillars that actually create your dream life. And I'm also then obviously going into my new program and how that can support some of you, who it's for, who it's not for, etc. So that is there. And then there's also a video about Her Year on the website page too. So you'll be able to watch that as well if you just kind of want like a bit of a synopsis about the program. But seriously, like the community aspect where you have people that are your cheerleaders, like they're cheering you on. It's so healing for your nervous system to be around people and to be in a group of people where they're not judging you. They're not putting you down. They're not thinking less of you because, you want to have XYZ birth, or you want to have a veggie patch, or like, this is the amount of money that you want to make. You want to be around the kind of people where even if that's not their goal too, they can still cheer you on. And that is like what I create inside of any of my programs. One of my core things is, even if you don't agree with what somebody is saying, or even if you don't want that same thing, can you cheer them on anyway? Because what you're doing is you are cheering on everybody's individuality. And in doing that, in celebrating somebody else's uniqueness, that also celebrates your own uniqueness. When you're telling somebody else, like, I see you, I hear you, I cheer you on, I celebrate you for you and your authenticness, what you're doing is your nervous system feels safe to also be your authentic self. So you can then show up with more authenticity and truth. And this is why people often find when they join masterminds or high level programs, if you're a business owner, for example, and you're around other people making a lot of money, you're in the energy of these people, they're like, how did my business make more money? I didn't even change anything. And it's energy. You guys know the power of energy. And if you don't, you have some episodes to listen to. The power of energy it's palpable. Like energy, you can feel it. When you walk into a room and you feel that someone's had a fight with somebody, that's energy. You are feeling that. So imagine the reverse. Imagine not the energy of fights and like how that is, but imagine the energy of expansion and what that brings. So imagine taking out the energy of fear of judgment from your energy system and rather having this energy of like, I'm here to shine. The difference in that, even just saying that, the difference in that and the difference of what would then get magnetized towards you is massive, right? So number one block is fear of judgment. And like on that note, also fear of being seen. So if that is you, can you start to get clarity, get clear on what are the things that I don't want to be judged for? What are the things I don't want to be seen in? And how am I judging myself in those things? Because when we're worried about somebody else judging us, we're actually just judging ourselves. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one with this one, this might piss some people off, but it's really important to say, is so many people are attached to the identity they've always known. Being a struggler, being a victim, being a survivor, being depressed, being anxious, basically being somebody with limitations. And they identify with that. And society is really supporting that these days. There is a lot of victimhood in society. There is a lot of suppression, but people don't realize it's suppression these days because it comes across like, oh, we are, helping this group of people. But what they're actually doing is they're actually subconsciously telling these group of people they're not capable of getting it themselves. Like the underlying subconscious programming of what we, from an outside perspective, might see as positive can actually be really detrimental because we're saying to people, you aren't capable of getting that yourself. So they then learn, oh, I'm less than. I'm not like other people. I need support. I need help. I'm blah, blah, blah. And they take on these kind of victim, I have limitation beliefs, which then really prevents them from actually going out and living their lives. And this is not to disregard people's true limitations, people's true hardship, that the fact of the matter is, yes, some of us are privileged, some of us are not. But if you have, that's all very true. Some of us have gone through rough shit. But if you keep identifying with that, if you make that your whole identity, guess what you're doing? You are living in the past. You are clinging on to something that is not going to support you in getting your dream life. And if you are clinging on to the past, whether it's victimhood, whether it's survivor, whether it's struggler, whether it's whatever it is, if you're clinging on to the past in that sense, is that going to get you your future? No, it's not even allowing you to be present, let alone get your future. So notice if you're clinging on to anything in the past. For example, I was reading my book that's getting published next year, and they were editing it, and they put in I'm a survivor of a ski accident. And I wrote a comment. I was like, take out this word survivor. What is this? This is I'm not a survivor of like 9/11 or something horrendous. It was a ski accident, number one, like really on the scale of like shit to happen to people. Like it's not that big. Yes, it was big. Like it was big. It was like a very, very long recovery. It was more mental in terms of like how challenging it was having to learn how to walk again than even just the physical pain, because I don't even remember it because the pain was so bad. But what was I going to say? But it was also like, I'm not hooked into like, oh my God, I survived this bad ski accident. Like that energy, no. Like I am not my past, right? And there's plenty of worse things that have happened in my past. And I could throw on there if I wanted to. I am a victim of X. I am a survivor of Y. I choose not to because I know that doesn't help me. It doesn't. It might get me validation. It might allow me to fit in with a group of other people that have gone through the same thing. But if I am secure in myself and if I have healed those things, why do I need to then be validated? Why do I need to then fit in with a group to stay in the past? Don't I want to become a better version of myself, not stay like closed and small? That for me personally, and I know you guys are the same, you want growth. So make sure that you are not attaching to a past identity of yourself that is not serving you. I was talking to a friend about this the other day on the phone. She's like, Monica, you need to do a whole episode on the problem of labels. I'm like, well, it is a chapter in my book, so I should probably do a whole episode on the problem with labels these days and how everybody just loves to slap on a label to allow themselves to feel like they're part of something, or more so to use it as an excuse. So make sure that you're not using those things as an excuse. All right, let's talk about the next one. So the next one that I've come up with that is, upon reflection, like what's another one that really holds clients back the most? People pleasing tendencies. And the reason why I threw this one in there was because you might not think people pleasing holds people back from their dream lives, but it does in the sense that they play small to make others feel comfortable. How do you play small in order to make others comfortable? How do you not prioritize yourself in order to please whoever? Right? So if you're like really in this vibe of creating your dream business, you want this success, blah, 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 but like you say yes to every social engagement, even though you're like, no, I just want to work on my business. You are then holding yourself back from your dream life. And it's not saying that now you need to become a hermit and say no to everything. Of course, there is like, a flow with it. You got to find your rhythm, but that's a big one. And people don't often look at that because it's not like this obvious kind of quote unquote block that could be holding you back. It's not shiny or anything fun like that. But people pleasing and a lack of self-respect means that you also don't respect your goals and your dreams. If you're not respecting yourself, that's one thing. But then also to add on the top of that, how are you not respecting your goals and your dreams? Because part of that, like if you're not respecting your goals and your dreams, you're also then not respecting yourself, because part of respecting yourself is showing up as the highest version of yourself, is putting the energy into getting what you want out of your life. But if you're so focused on making everybody else happy that you're not making yourself happy, how is that holding you back from getting what you want? Like this is a personal thing. Like you got to think about this one personally with yourself, but that is definitely a real one. It's kind of looped in with the fear of judgment, but it's more so in that like people don't realize that they don't allow themselves to dream big because they're afraid of what other people not just will think, not just will say, but they're afraid of making other people uncomfortable. So they stay in this response. Often, they've created it from their childhood. And I just want to keep the peace. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to make dad angry because I'm going to make more money than him. And then he's going to have resentment towards me. I don't want to piss mom off because she never got to achieve her dreams. So I'll just play small because I don't want to make her feel like, oh, I wish I wasn't a stay-at-home mom and I got to go achieve my dreams. That's not your problem. And that's a real thing, especially with the mother-daughter dynamic. That is a very real thing that I'm seeing for a lot of clients these days, of mothers not knowingly, right? Like they're not trying to be mean or anything, but mothers having this jealousy towards their daughter. And the jealousy obviously can come from various reasons, but one of the reasons that I'm seeing that's quite common is the jealousy is she has the life that I never got for myself. Like, look at her. She's going and achieving things. She's going after her goals. Like she has this career. She's making her own money. Like she's just like honoring herself and her truth. I wish I did that. Friends, I am so excited to share with you that I have another one of my juicy, like wet knickers, panty dropping masterclasses. You guys, if you haven't been to one of my masterclasses before, you can actually head to the masterclass vault and you can watch one of the previous ones. The title of it is Becoming Her in 2025. And we're going to be going into the 7 pillars that are essential for you to become her in 2025 and to create the life of your dreams. So what we are going to be covering in the masterclass is what it means to actually quote unquote become her, how feminine leadership is paramount for easy manifestation, the 7 pillars, like I said before. We're going to be doing a little life audit so that you can figure out where you're holding yourself back and not take that. I'm going to break down what embodied manifestation is and how it will drastically change the way that you magnetize your dream life. We're going to have a live Q&A, and there's going to be so much more. And it is all happening very shortly. So if you don't have your name down on the list, you absolutely need to, so you do not miss out. This will be a limited time masterclass, and I am fucking jazzed about it because I mean, shit's just getting better and fucking better. So anyway, let's jump back into the episode. I will see you guys in this masterclass. And you know, people typically are not trying to be mean when like that jealousy is coming up, especially if you have a pretty good relationship with your mom. She's not actually trying to be like malicious or anything, but we're human, right? We're human. We compare ourselves and we always, you know, it's always like the grass is greener on the other side, but it is a real thing because for a lot of us, our mums were stay-at-home mums, or they didn't get the kind of motherhood or like career, one or the other, that they wanted. And so that can then bring up this sense of jealousy for them if they don't know how to process and deal with that. But it's not your problem. It doesn't mean that you then need to play small to make mum comfortable, because that's not actually what she wants anyway, right? In her heart of hearts, she doesn't want you to play small and not go after the things that you want just to make her feel better about herself. You wouldn't want that for your daughter. But it's also just like being okay with the fact that every generation is different. And so we're always going to look back and think, oh, I wish I got to have that, or I wish I did that differently. We're always going to have that. So that's why it's important in every moment to feel like we are proud of how we're showing up. That's why I want you to feel like you are proud of how you're finishing this year. Because it's not about perfection. It's not about like never looking back and thinking, oh, I wish I did it like that. You will always have that. But can you still at the end of the day be like, yeah, I wish I did it that way, but also like, I know I did my best. That's all you want. You just want this feeling of, I know I did my best. That is the energy that you want to be in. But if you have all of these things, and if you're letting all of these things limit you from actually doing your best, then there's no way that you're going to actually get the life of your dreams. And remember, it's the life of your dreams. It's the life of your dreams. It's not the life of mom's dreams or dad's dreams. It's not the life of somebody else's dreams. It's not the life of my dreams. It's the life of your dreams. So for one person, that could look like living in London and traveling around the world and blah, blah, blah. And for another person, that could look like a cozy cottage and a veggie patch and slow weekends. There is no better life or dream than somebody else's, because it's yours. And your dream is perfect for you. Okay, the next one is, we kind of talked about, is actually in the previous one. So I'm just going to say it and I'll leave it. If you didn't listen to the previous episode, you can go back and listen to it. It's a lack of boundaries because of the bitterness and the resentment that then happens, which then affects your frequency, which then affects how and whether you can actually manifest it in, and whether you even like quote unquote want to, because the resentment can make us then repel what we actually want, because the resentment is like eating us alive and making us a bit of a bitch, basically. Lack of boundaries can really block us from getting our dream lives. Procrastination and overwhelm. Like, raise your hand if this is you. I think the overwhelm, a really big component of overwhelm these days is like information overwhelm. People are always plugged into a podcast. They're always listening to music. They're scrolling Instagram. They're doing a course like all at one time. They're watching TV. They're driving the car. They're cooking dinner. It's like people are doing 5 things at once, and you shouldn't be, because back in the caveman days, when we wouldn't do this, but when the guys would go and, you know, hunt something for dinner. They were on a 3-hour walk. They weren't listening to podcasts. They couldn't even have a conversation for 3 hours because there wasn't enough going on in their lives to be able to talk for 3 hours. And so we were a lot more, we were focused on ourselves. We could hear our thoughts. We were actually could feel our body. We were focused on us. Our energy was inside of us. Now our energy is so outside of us. Like, it's egocentric. It's focused on what other people are doing, what other people are thinking, like what else we should be doing. It's like constant comparisonitis. It's constant, like, I got to be doing better, achieving better, blah, 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 because we are comparing to other people. So that piece of the overwhelm is really important, in that sometimes we can think we're overwhelmed and therefore we need to do less. We need to not join her year, or we need to pull back on our social life. But that might not be the reason. That might not be the source of your overwhelm, right? That actually could mitigate your overwhelm. Often the source of overwhelm, I've figured out with clients, is information overwhelm. I'm like, turn off some fucking devices. Go to bed at 10 p.m. Stop scrolling Instagram. Stop listening to podcasts. As I record a podcast, that can actually really help with overwhelm. Take all of this pressure and these to-do lists, these tasks off your to-do list. Make dinner easier for yourself. If we're literally inside of her, and now it's her year, the tips that I gave you guys for time management with dinner, the amount of you in testimonials and in the form that were that alone changed my fucking life. And we're talking about dinner time management tips, because that literally, the thought of cooking dinner every night when we're tired, that can cause a massive amount of overwhelm. Often the things that we think are causing the overwhelm, it's not that. It's these little tiny micro things that are adding up. It's too many of them. But one of those things is fucking scrolling, because the dopamine hits and then the drops, and the fact that your baseline for dopamine is now so high, that can create the overwhelm, the anxiety, the depression-y kind of feelings. That can actually create that more than anything else. And then with the procrastination, I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. If we procrastinate, I kind of said this in the last episode as well, we procrastinate on creating our dream lives. We procrastinate on showing up for them, because you have to show up for them. You have to take action on them. We procrastinate on the healing, on the integration, on the embodiment. We procrastinate on all of that, not because we don't want our dream lives, but because we are so afraid of failing. So afraid of failing. We're so afraid of reaching for the stars and not getting our dream lives. So we think, you know what? It's better to not try and not fail than try and fail. I'm telling you right now, from someone that's failed a lot, trying and failing is always better than the feeling that eats you alive of what if. What if? I've experienced those what ifs before, fucking have. I don't experience them anymore because I do the things I want to fucking do. If I think to myself, would I be bummed if I didn't do this thing? And I'm talking little examples, like going out with friends. I'll think to myself, if I don't go out with friends, even though I'm kind of feeling lazy right now, if I say no, will I then think later, will I think tomorrow, oh, what if I went out with them? What would have happened? Yep. All right, we're going. Even little things like that. We procrastinate because we're lazy, because we are afraid of failure. And that fear of failure comes from a place of ego. It's because I truly believe it's because of social media, where we feel like we're under so much scrutiny. I'm like, okay, if your friends are scrutinizing you because you quote unquote failed at something that you tried, please make them your ex-friends. I'm serious. But truly, it's we show up less for ourselves these days. Honestly, I think because of social media, because we think that our lives have to look so perfect, and failing on something that you went out and tried to do would just be oh my God, the worst thing that could happen in the world. But I'm no, it's not, because if you would I don't even see things as failing. I honestly, I know it sounds cheesy, but I see it as redirection. I truly do. I failed on things. I failed on business things. I failed on personal things. And you know what? Every time when I look back, I go, thank God that didn't work, because look what happened as a result. A recent situation happened with work. And I go, thank God that failed, because you know what? That wasn't meant to be. And I truly know that because I then found out the thing that was meant to be. I'm not just saying that as like a way to make myself feel better. Or something didn't work out. And I'm like, yeah, now I get it. Like I can only connect the dots going backwards, not forwards. And I'm like, of course that didn't work out because look at what was meant to happen instead. Like this thing, right? There is like so much that you can learn. So much that you can learn when you fail, because the truth is you only really learn when you fail. You only really get those nuggets for yourself that then allows you to take the best next steps that quantum leaps you and like condenses time. You only learn those nuggets when you fail or when you fuck something up. You don't learn them when everything's going great. Think about it. At school, you know when you would make a mistake and you'd kind of make it a little bit publicly sometimes, like they were the really good ones, where you'd like answer the question and you're like so confident about it and the teacher's like wrong. And you're like, oh my God, never making that mistake again. And you never do. Like you never make that mistake again in your life because we learn from those moments where our ego is like crushed. Because we then like tap back into ourselves. We feel ourselves. We feel like more like not so necessarily in the classroom, but we actually feel our truth. You know, when it comes to creating our dream life, when something fails, like we already knew that wasn't for us or it wasn't 100% the right thing, but maybe we weren't fully trusting our intuition because it didn't make sense. Like it all was pointing towards that, or you thought it was all great. But then once you fail, you're like, oh, I kind of knew that was going to happen. I kind of knew. There was that 1% of you that was wondering. And so we learn. And so I said this in the previous episode, in those things that you're scared of, that you don't want to do, that's where your quantum leap is. Like that is where it is. It is in the shit that you don't want to do. It's in the thing that you're scared of, that you want to run away from, because that is where your growth is, because it is outside your comfort zone. And failing is scary. Failing can feel like, whoa, to your nervous system, aka it's outside your comfort zone, but that's what grows us and expands us. Last two things I'm going to leave you with is impatience. Like, look, people would say I'm not a very patient person. Some actually, depending on what we're talking about, would say I am a patient person. According to my mother-in-law, I'm very patient with my husband, and I'm like, thank you very much. He says I've been patient, and then of course my mom says to him, and of course, my mother-in-law says he's impatient. And then my mom says to him, you're so patient with Monica. And she says to me, I'm impatient. So it's just like, it's funny. Anyway, it's one of those situations. I truly can say that my ability to be patient has, like, I for me, feel incredibly patient now. I'm still impatient, but I think we all are. We're impatient about things that we want, and good. We don't want to be patient about the things that we really fucking want, because then we wouldn't go after them and make shit happen and like speed time up, right? And condense that time. So we want some impatience. I think to a point, impatience is actually a really good trait because you go and get what you want. We also want to be patient in the sense that we don't smother things, that we don't actually end up sabotaging something because of our ability to not just like sit in the unknown. So impatience could also potentially be sabotaging you from getting what you want because of what I just said. So maybe re-listen to that little chunk if you need it, because I can't remember what I just said and it was really fucking good. And then the last thing is something to just leave on. Now, before I say this, success is subjective. Remember that. Also remember that success doesn't have to mean professional. It also could be success in your relationship. It could be success in motherhood, success in your health, success in your friendship, success in design of your house. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So do you think more success and money will affect the polarity in your relationship? Do you think if you have more success and money, it will affect the polarity in your relationship? Maybe that question you have to change a little bit depending on your situation. But one of the biggest conversations I'm having right now with women that are like wanting to live big lives is the subconscious fear of that will affect my relationship with men, that will affect my relationship with my husband or my dating experience or whatever it is. And yeah, it absolutely fucking can. It can ruin it. It can become really challenging, or it can not become really challenging, and it cannot negatively affect your dating experience or your relationship with your lover. If you haven't listened to the breadwinner episodes, I would go and listen to the breadwinner episodes, because there's more in there, and I'm going to come and do another episode on this. But something to just leave you guys with, because very often we hold ourselves back because we think if I get this thing, I will lose this thing. So if I get my dream family, that could be something that you're manifesting, I will lose my friendships. If I get my dream job, I will lose my ability to be an amazing mother. If I make X money, I will lose the hot sex in my relationship. We often think that we can't have both. And you might consciously sit here and go, no, I believe I can have both. Do you? Just check. Do you really, really, really believe that you can have both? And so I'm going to end on this. Don't just hire people that can help you to believe that you can have both. Hire people that show you, because they're the embodiment, because embodiment is superior to teaching. Anyone can teach something. Can they embody it? Right? It's like when people get stuck on, oh, where did they go to university? When they're looking at like, I don't know, figuring out what doctor to go to or like the coach to hire or whatever it is. And I'm like, how many doctors have we all been to that goes to like Harvard? I don't know whether you can go to Harvard for becoming a doctor. And their answer is like, here's the pill. Us women, we know that situation, right? It doesn't matter what fucking university you've gone to. Are you actually good at your job? When it comes to anybody in the space of like healing, therapy, etc., embodiment is far superior to what they can teach you on Instagram, to what they can read off a script, to their degree. Like embodiment. And so that's why it makes me so happy to be doing her year in the year of my book being published, becoming a mother, like I've just been married, and all of this, because everything we're going through inside of, every program, but inside of her year, I fully embody. I would never, ever, ever, this is a big thing. Integrity is one of my number one values. I would never do a program on something that I haven't already embodied. Never, ever, ever. How could I? Literally, how could I? There is a lack of depth when you don't embody something. You can tell there's a lack of depth in somebody because they won't include nuances because they don't know the nuances. And if you throw them a situation with random nuances or like it's a little bit like, left of center, like it's not like a cookie cutter situation, they will come back to a cookie cutter answer. Like one of the ways that you can tell. If you're thinking about hiring me, hiring somebody else, do your due diligence is what I'm going to say. We recently had a situation, somebody very well known in the industry, unfortunately, he took the name of one of my programs and blocked me and my whole team, which was the weirdest fucking thing. And one of you actually DM'd it to me being like, he's literally taken like this name. Long story short, we worked it out, whatever, like we have lawyers and it was all fine. But even when I said to him, because I actually thought, oh, maybe it was a team member. And then even when I actually said to him, like, hey, it could be a good idea to just like mention something on your stories, because obviously my community has like commented on your posts and blah, blah, blah. And obviously like my community knows about this, like that's going to affect your reputation and like how they see you. You might want to just like put on your stories, like just to clear it up so that people can feel that integrity from you. And he responded being like, all right, have a nice day or something. It wasn't even all right. He was like, thanks or something, have a nice day. I can't remember what it was. It was like, my whole team was like, did you see his reply? Like, what the fuck? And I like spent the time writing a message to him. And that was just like, some of you would know what I'm talking about because you were in the DMs with us talking about it. But it was just like, if you feel that ick, even if you feel an ick towards me, then don't fucking hire me. Like, then we're not aligned. Like, you want to feel fully activated by somebody. You want to feel like yes to their energy. And you want to make sure you also don't just tune into their energy, but also like the logistical things. I did a whole blog post on this. We'll link this below too, because we always have situations, but we had another situation earlier this year where somebody actually took the name Queen Alchemy, which was a real kicker, especially because they'd applied to do Queen Alchemy and like fully been emailing us about it on my email list. Like it was, again, very bizarre. Of course they blocked me, but it's like, that doesn't work because you guys are amazing and you send it to me. But it just really highlighted to me these days. And I know with AI and everything, so many people are just getting more like discerning. It just made me realize the importance of like, okay, if you're not aware of how the coaching world works or like how online courses work, I wrote this long blog post for you of all the things to just be aware of, because it will help you to do your due diligence when seeing if somebody would be a good fit for you. It's not about just, are they good at their job? It's, are they a good fit for you? You. Because in healing, it's not just this A plus B equals C. In healing, you need to feel seen by somebody, connected to somebody. You need to feel safe with somebody. You need to feel like, oh my God, this person gets it, right? You don't just want to feel like they're good at their job. You want to feel like they are my person. That's what you want, right? We're not hiring a lawyer. Okay. That's totally different. We're not hiring a lawyer. We're not hiring a fucking like finance dude. We're hiring someone to help us become the best version of ourselves. All right. I'm going to love you and leave you guys. I will see you all in the next episode. And do not forget to join the New Year's Eve bundle if you haven't already.